What up, though? And welcome back to I'm growNman. It's your man, John D. in the building. Recently I've been getting a lot of love from some of my Facebook posts and just me talking about relationships and how to pursue the right person that's fit for you. I think a lot of times the information that we was given, when we were younger, it didn't translate over into the relationship part of the game. And I say that because the way that I look at relationships now, it's different than when I first started out. Like, I love my wife without a doubt, but I had no idea I could feel the way that I do about her now because I had no idea how to get here. Growing up, you get all of this background noise that makes you feel like you're supposed to do it this way, but how do you do it that way, and you get all of these religious under and overtones, however you want to take it, where it's saying you're supposed to do it this way, but it still doesn't tell you how to actually do it. And I think through my journey, this is what I've determined. I'm like a summation of anybody who's talking about being great or doing something. Like, I've adopted their practices into my life. And I feel like where I'm going, I'm so excited about because, I've been married to my wife 15 years and all of them were not over the top happy, to say the least. But, I'm just trying to make sure that I can be an example of what a relationship could look like if you work on it. Like, you have to put in an effort that you probably have not seen before, because if you have, you probably wouldn't be watching this. But, there was a time where, my wife wasn't happy with the way that I was talking to her. And I never could understand that. But she said that the way that I talked to her, it just was real evil, like it was mean. And I'm like, I didn't realize that I was, you get put in a situation, you fall into default who you are, and you just speak however, because probably was up to no good. And it was like a defense mechanism. But the problem is that I was using it for so many different things and it was beating her up. And that's sad because I was ignorant to what I was doing. And then I want you to check this out. Man, I was in my 40s when I realized that, when she finally made me understand, because she was considering leaving because she had no idea that how much I loved her. I had no idea that I was doing these things to her. My tone, delivery. So everything is so much more, it's in more of a calm state. Like, we're on the same team. Why am I snapping at my wife? Unless I'm like, what? We're not on the same page or something? I don't know. But when I realized, like, it was like a sense of urgency that I was trying to make up for the person that I was all of that time. And when I say the person that I was, it was like I was a young man trying to figure it out. And I was a young man trying to figure it out. So, I just got to the point where I'm like, what do I really want with my life? And I'm thinking about what would it look like if I was happy? The idea of what I thought was happy is totally different now. Like, I've done so many different things. So I feel like my opinion makes me feel like I have some validity behind what I'm about to say. I always thought I was happy. Like, there was no parts of my life where I didn't think I was happy. Like, I was definitely remember being angry. Like, when I say angry, I mean, like, I could just blow up, but it wasn't on purpose. It was just because I hadn't dealt with a lot of things that was going on in my life that I thought I didn't know I had to deal with things. Like, nobody told me these things. So I'm telling you, if you are angry about anything and it's just so much energy going to something, you got to unlayer, unpack. You got to talk to somebody. You got to write. You got to do some things that you weren't taught so that you can stop walking around filled with this anger, because it comes out. And the people that you love are the ones that can hear it. And, it's unfortunate, but you're creating this idea that it's okay for you to speak to your family like that. And it creates a cycle of people that have trapped trauma that they don't even know how to deal with, where their kids are going to say this is okay for somebody to talk to you like that. You need help. You have to recognize that you have that problem. And then you have to talk to your spouse, your kids, and say, hey, can you let me know when I sound like I'm being really mean, and because I don't know what it sounds like. And I'm telling you, conversations are just different now. You know, like I used to argue all the time. If you go, like, you do your like research, and at some point you will. Like, I used to argue about everything. It wasn't like I was trying to do it on purpose, but my communication was so elementary that, like, I don't even know if it was that advanced, but I couldn't communicate effectively enough where I just couldn't express myself. And it just was like, John's always arguing, he gonna debate. Like, I'm not trying to, I just feel like the information that I have, you haven't given me enough for me to say that you're correct. But it didn't sound eloquent like that. It just was like, and then I'm like, it's crazy. But anyways, this communication thing and me talking to my wife, like, I've learned how to like deal with the things that made me the person that the public saw. Like, when you can unlayer the person that you became because you were protecting yourself from the ouch, the scars or whatnot, the life that nobody knows about but you. Like, you became a different person. And if you ever get an opportunity, you'll be able to see the world is not as cold as the world that you grew up in. I'm for real. But you got to believe in yourself. Like, you really got to like work on like you. Like, life is a beautiful thing. And if you don't unlayer you, how can you complement any relationship? It's going to be difficult. It's the most difficult journey ever because you feel like you're attracted to somebody and you guys have great conversations. But if you haven't unlayered who you are, you're going to run into that wall. You're like, is this the person for me? It's most likely the person for you, but you don't know how to communicate effectively enough to make it work. And I'm going to tell you, most relationships fail because boundaries and expectations aren't really talked about. It's like insinuation. What happens if this doesn't happen? What happens if we talk about this and something does not happen? What do you do? Like, it's like really blatant conversations that could become very uncomfortable. But if you want a solid relationship where you can feel things are still constantly growing between you, there's a level of vulnerability that you have to give your partner. You got to really tell her or tell him, whoever it is, like the things that you've never said out loud, because, your partner is always going to have the best interest of you. And if they don't know things about you, they don't know how to protect you, so most of the time what I'm seeing, like most relationships, there's a level of vulnerability, but the vulnerability is already looking for the next opportunity if this doesn't work. And that's why sex is a trap. It's a complete trap. You can have some great sex, but conversations are very important if you want a really good relationship. People don't understand that sex is completely overrated. Like, if you want a really solid relationship, you're going to have great sex. It's just not going to look like what you think it's supposed to look like. It's like, if you don't get enough information, you're going to just think that it's supposed to look like a specific thing. But I'm going to tell you, in my honest opinion, only have sex because men want it. For real. Like, I know that women don't mind having it when it's good or whatnot, quote unquote. But overall, women only do it because a man want to do it. Like, women have these times where they can go so long without having sex. It's like, it doesn't bother them like men. The men in our head, we believe that we're supposed to think like that. At least the majority of the men that, like, they were taught the same information I was taught. And I'm telling you, I remember thinking they said, and I was in 6th grade, and it was like, men are supposed to, they think about sex 100 times a day. Like, in my head, I was like, if that's the case, like, who's supposed to satisfy that appetite? Like, you're supposed to find some discipline? Like, who's going to teach you that? And that's when I realized it's not even discipline. You got to just realize how important you are. If you're important, you don't sacrifice the dynasty you're trying to create for anything. But if you get this programming where you think you can challenge it, that's when it comes to crumbles. Like, we don't know anybody who talks about how do you get to a certain relationship. And that's the reason why I'm in love with the idea of working on this communication, so I can show people what a relationship could actually look like if you invest time into it. Like, I love my wife so much where, like, wherever she wants to go, if she doesn't mind company, I want to go. I want her to, like, know that I want to see what she's like in all situations. I want to see what her happiness looks like so that I can recreate those moments as often as possible until I can find ways to increase it. Like, I want to create this relationship bond between two people where it's more than just what we've seen on television, because that's pretty much what it is. Like, you look at your family, relationships is tough. For real, for real. Men die young, women die old. Just think about it. Like, we just got the wrong programming. So the information that I know now, like, if you're important, you better be careful who you decide to practice with. Like, you just can't practice with anybody. You practice with anybody, it just shows you how poor you really are, because it didn't matter, because you was willing to lose everything on it. That's poor, flat out poor. You got to have somebody to be able to break it down and say, hey, if that's that important, that's a conversation that needs to be had, because at the end of the day, no woman wants to lose the house, the dynasty. Like, for real, for real. Like, I know we be getting this background noise of women trying to take half. Why would women want to take half? Like, come on. Like, at the end of the day, like, there needs to be some better conversations had before we get into situations where we make, like, families too difficult to have because of money. Whatever you build as a family, like, you want to make sure your family's good. I see all these people compromised by how much money they make and how much money they lose. Like, it's their family. The mother of their kids got half. Like, what is wrong with that? Like, it's the mother of their kids. Like, this the most important person in the world is the mother of their kids. But we make it seem like women out here trying to, like, do bad things. I don't know. Even if they are, like, they're going to take the best care of their kids as they can. And if they don't, you did a bad job with selecting a woman that you practice with. So at the end of the day, if we did a better job at taking who we decide to build relationships with, I think less mistakes will be had. But we don't have anybody to explain the actual process, because we think we can beat fate for some reason. Because I'm telling you that the examples repeat itself repeatedly. But for some reason, nobody says how to do it. You just got to believe that you're that important. You can't just be practicing adult things at young ages, and you haven't even found out who you are. And now you committed to this person, but you don't really have to, because commitments don't really matter, because you got to live your best life. I get it. But at the end of the day, who's going to, like, be the example for the kid? And, you know, I realize that I got my hangups, but I've been working on them. And that's why I'm working on communication, so I can try to show you guys whatever you think you're getting away with, they see it. They just haven't realized it yet. And you know what's so crazy? It's a tough situation to be in when you see your kids trip up on something that you couldn't figure out. It's a sad thing. I see it every day, you know, like it hurts my heart too, but it don't ruin my day, because it's nothing that I can do other than make sure that I am more purposeful with being the best father I can for my kids. And I know I'm gonna have my mistakes. I do know that. It's not gonna come without me trying to make sure I make the least amount of mistakes than the ones that I had to go through. You know, I'm gonna tell you this, even for me to get here, from what I came from, I know what a relationship should feel like. I didn't know I could feel this way. I'm blessed. And I can actually talk about how I got here. So it was just, I guess, me just trying to figure out how I can learn my wife in every which way possible. You know, I'm a horrible communicator, so we was always arguing because, you know, like, I felt like she was like, you know, let's agree to disagree. I said, I don't believe in agree to disagree, because we're on the same team. I need to know how you feel in this situation. We're out in public and something presents itself. We got to stand as a united front. It's not no agree to disagree. If your way is better, then I need to be able to put my ego to the side and say, I stand with you. We're just still together. But it ain't no like you stand on that side. That's the reason why relationships don't work, because we don't have enough conversation that engage for you to actually think, are we on the same team or not? You don't believe in this. Why are we going this way? Or do you believe that this person can lead you in the right direction? Then you got to be able to bow yourself down and say, okay, we're going to go that way. But most of the time, a lot of the things that have us distracted, we can't even get through the most important stuff because we want to do the stuff that's not that important, that can cause the most life-changing things ever. We got distracted, for real. And it's unbelievable. I'm blessed to be in the relationship I'm in. I'm going to wind down shortly, but I just want y'all to know, like, as soon as I get off of this, we're going to go walk our dogs. We're going to talk about our day. Our son is going to be cooking. My son cooks 5 days a week. He's cold too. And he's just a freshman. He cold. He cooks meals all over the world. He looked like, man, he's nice. But anyways, that's another blessing, because I told him, I was like, you do something enough hours, you're going to become really good at it. And you young and you like doing it, you're going to open up doors for you that you're not going to understand until they happen. And he does it now because he enjoys just cooking. And I'm like, it's a dangerous thing if you're not a healthy eater, because delicious foods are really easy to make. He's really good at making delicious foods, but he knows how we want to eat. So I've seen a lot of chefs, and a lot of chefs don't look like they plan on living that long, and health is real. And it's really difficult for me to not try to push this idea with him, because I need him to be responsible, because I love him. And it wouldn't make any sense that I'm living a particular life and it's working and he's deciding to go. So I know he'll stray at some point or whatnot, but at least he'll have the foundation. He knows what works, because I'm rocking this out for the rest of my life. And I told my wife, I'm like, in order for me to be able to live like I want to live, I need her to be there with me, because I don't want to do this without anybody. I don't want to do this without her. I said anybody, without her. If she died, I don't want to do this with anybody. That's what that was from. I'm good. I feel like my eyes, I want her to see the things I see. I've really gotten to a point, I had no idea I could become this person. And I'm telling you, it's after, I think, the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers, she and I eclipsed 10,000 hours, and we just enjoy each other's company. And I didn't know that I could, and what's so crazy? It's we enjoy accumulating more just to learn each other even more. I don't know. She don't love it like I love it, but I be looking for ways to get to know her, because I want to know what she's about to think, and something's right there. So she can be like, oh, he's really into me. I am. So I'm working toward that. And that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why I'm doing this, working on communication, because I feel like the way that I am, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it, so I challenge all of you guys to try to do 10,000 quality hours, not sleeping don't count, just talking, conversations. If you don't get those conversations in, you're just waiting for arguments to happen. And most of us aren't very good communicators. So somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. We're going to have egos and silent treatment. And that's not a good environment to live in for anybody. So I'm telling you, you have to even list out some rules or something, if somebody's feelings about to get hurt, just wave the flag and say, hey, we're going to come back at another time. And as you notice these things, you're going to slow down when they're about to happen. Why is that happening? And I'm telling you, you'll start to unlayer yourself. And that's the reason why it's really difficult to have a relationship if you haven't unlayered yourself, because the other person has got to go through with all your bad habits and your bad things that you just think you're supposed to do because that's who you are. You can get better, so yeah, you can get better. And that's the problem. We act like we can't get better. I'm all about getting better. So I'm gonna be cold out here. So I'm gonna be so cold at it that I'm going to show anybody I come in contact with the way that will change their life, as long as they believe that they're that important. If you believe you're that important, you can change your life, and you can become so cold at being you that people will pay you for being you that cold. But everybody else want to watch everybody else win. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action, or the action will get after you. Be great on purpose. Boom.